Hi, my name's Miriam Lee, and I'm the founder of West Berks Climate Action Network. This is primarily a Facebook group looking to help people in West Berks to lower their carbon footprint through sharing tips on individual footprint reduction, but also by setting up community schemes such as solar streets and warmer streets. And I'll talk a little bit more about those later on. We also meet with our local MP on a regular basis to discuss ways government schemes can help to ensure the success of local schemes. We have a membership of just over 700 people and a committee of 10 people driving the community schemes. Now, climate change is a global problem, which can often make it feel too big for one person to care about, especially when it is affecting the future or affecting countries far away. So in this talk, I'm going to bring it a little bit closer to home and see how climate change could affect us here in beautiful West Berkshire. Then I'll go on to talk about what local solutions we can work together on. So first I should tell you a little bit about myself and why I personally care about climate change. I'm an engineer, having got my degree at Cambridge University, and now I have 15 years of a career behind me, and hopefully many more to come. I specialised in fluid dynamics at university and in my career, so I know that the science climate change predictions are based on is solid, well-studied science. I'm also a mother to 2 young girls, and so to ensure a safe future for them, I feel I must take action to mitigate climate change. And indeed, I think Barack Obama put it very nicely in 2014 that we are the first generation to feel the impact of climate change and the last to be able to do anything about it. We have a very exciting decade of change coming up, and I hope to do everything that I can to ensure that the unprecedented wildfires we've seen in California and Australia earlier this year, and the massive melting of Antarctica, are a turning point for the world and not a preview of what is to come. And by the way, while we're talking about fire and ice, I just want to highlight the positive feedback loops that are present in the Earth's climate system, because this wasn't something that I was taught about at school. Now, positive feedback loops sound like a good thing, right? My teacher says my work is good, which makes me want to study more, making my work even better. But unfortunately for life on Earth, the positive feedback loops in the Earth's climate system are actually pretty scary. The more the sea ice melts, the less sunlight the Earth can reflect, meaning that more heat is absorbed, meaning that more ice melts. Equally with fire, the more trees burn, the more carbon dioxide is emitted into the atmosphere, leading to more dry conditions, which leads to a greater chance of wildfires. And there are actually 15 positive feedback loops in the climate system, which some scientists say could all interact with each other to trigger a cascade of irreversible changes. But what does this actually mean for us in West Berks? Well, climate change leads to drier periods in the summer, which leads to an increased risk of greater damage from wildfire, even if the fire was started accidentally. And this can lead to destroyed crops, which ultimately leads to increased food prices for you and me. Climate change also means increased likelihood of floods, and indeed, the floods seen in the UK in 2014 were estimated to be 40% more likely due to climate change. And I personally find it incredible that since 2015, the government has spent £500 million each year on flood defences in the UK, the Thatcham flood defence included. And since the heavy rainfall this spring, they have increased this to £750 million annually. And finally, we come to 3 of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: famine, disease, and war. Climate change means much more extreme weather, which means more bad harvests, and indeed, some of the land that we currently use for growing crops will become under sea level as the sea level rises. And as the temperature rises, so the conditions for mosquitoes become more favourable with all of the diseases that they bring. And as towns and cities start to submerge, there will be people needing to move inland. And it is estimated that there will be over 10 times as many refugees as the Syrian refugee crisis by 2050. And this will undoubtedly bring stresses between the world's communities. And if I haven't scared you off yet, and don't worry, we will come to some nicer things in the next slides, it is interesting to note that some scientists think that we have entered into the 6th mass extinction. And there are certainly very worrying signs for this in recent publications. And while there are other causes of these current extinctions, primarily change in land use, it is very worrying that the Earth's temperature increase is occurring at a much faster rate than previous mass extinctions caused by climate change. So let's end on a much more positive note. Everything that I have said so far is pretty dire, but the wonderful thing is that it does not have to be this way. Over the next decade, we have a great opportunity not just to avoid all of this rubbishness, but indeed to make the world an even nicer place than it is today for us and future generations to live in. So let's look at how we can do that. This is the average person's carbon footprint in 2017, and in West Berkshire, the average footprint was actually 7.9 tons of carbon dioxide per person in 2018. Now, ideally, over the next 10 years, we need to reduce that to just over 1 ton. So in West Berkshire Climate Action Network, we're doing everything that we can to make that happen. We're running community schemes such as Warmer Streets, which is a community discounted home insulation scheme to make the best use of the Green Homes Grant recently announced by the government. And we run Solar Streets, which is a similar community discounted scheme for solar panels to reduce the cost of, or rather to reduce the carbon cost of electricity to the home. Now, we've had great success with Solar Streets, with 18 tons of carbon dioxide saved annually, and that's just the start of the scheme. And we haven't done any installations of Warmer Streets, we're just kicking off the scheme now. We've also got 420 trees this autumn that we'll be working with local schools and community groups to plant out. And we also share and discuss ways on the Facebook group to reduce individual carbon footprint in all the many aspects. So come and join the conversation. We're primarily on Facebook under West Berkshire Climate Action Network, but we're also on Twitter, or you can contact us directly at westberkscan@gmail.com. You can join in as much or as little as you like. You can enjoy the conversation, or you can get actively involved in any of our schemes that take your interest. So that's it from us. Thank you very much for listening.